Moving abroad changes more than the country you are in. It changes how you see the world and how you communicate with it. In today's episode, we are joined by an English teacher currently living in the south of Spain and the founder of Flamingo English Online. Originally from the UK, she lived in Poland and Spain, and the difference between these countries stood out.
Living in Poland, yeah, it was the biggest culture shock out of any of the countries that I've been to, put it that way. It felt different, felt different. The appearance, the buildings even was different. Because of that, you feel different looking around. The language, I would say the language was probably the main issue.
That experience didn't just shape her life abroad. It shaped the way she teaches language today. And in this episode, we also challenge the biggest myths about learning English as a foreigner. You need to live in an English-speaking country to become fluent in English.
Generally, this is false. This is always false. You don't have to. That being said, it absolutely helps when you're learning a language that you live in the country that you're learning. You might progress more, maybe faster.
So what really makes the difference? Connection, confidence, and showing up wherever you are in the world. Today, on Almost Local, the living abroad story of Amy Smith. Let's start.
I'm Amy. I currently live in Spain. So, maybe my history. So I'm British. I was born and raised in the UK, and then I spent quite a lot of my adult life living abroad. And at the moment, I'm currently living in Spain, and I've been here for about 5 years. Previously, I lived in Poland for 7 years, so longer than what I've been living here. And yeah, this is more or less it. There were a few other places in between, but yeah, these are the two main, expat experiences, I would say.
Nice. Where in UK are you originally from, actually?
Yeah. So I was born in Birmingham, which is in the Midlands. I actually moved from there, when I was quite young. So I grew up in Southport, which is northwest, so it's near Liverpool.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah, maybe out of curiosity, I know that you're teaching English right now. I know that you have a CELTA certificate, so you are like a really official English teacher in that sense.
Yeah.
Was that your original studies, or you always wanted to become a teacher?
No, I didn't always. I actually spent a few years not sure what to do, and I kind of went to and from a few different options. Sorry, excuse me. I decided that I like to travel. I think this is the reason that a lot of people get into teaching. It's definitely not the right reason, but probably it was the reason that I took an interest in it. Let's say that I wanted to travel and live abroad. And yeah, this probably isn't the best reason, because there's a lot of involved with teaching. It's not so simple as, oh yeah, I'm English, I can go and live abroad and teach. It used to be like that, I guess, but it's definitely changed. So yeah, when I started out, this is why I wanted to be a teacher, because I wanted to be able to work abroad, basically. And I have been doing it ever since. I guess this is why I started, but this was 13 years ago. So I've been teaching for a long time. It wasn't just it's not something that I just did while I traveled around Asia, which a lot of people do. Nothing wrong with that at all. But that I did it, and I actually moved to Poland to do the training. So I did my CELTA in Poland, and then I stayed in Poland afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why Poland?
Good question. Previous to living in Poland, I had lived in Spain, and I'd sort of spent some time in warmer countries. And for me, Poland was very different. It was very different to any country that I'd been in before, a country that I'd lived in. So I had quite an interest in doing something different. This was the initial reason. And also I had worked with a lot of Polish people. So I had some friends, and, in the UK, at that time, there were a lot of Polish people working, and, I just took an interest in the country, basically. And this is why I wanted to do my training there. And when I initially started, it was kind of between Poland and Spain where I was going to continue. And I just got offered the job in Poland. So this is why I stayed in Poland.
How long is the CELTA trainings?
Not very long. Not very. I assume it's still the same. I mean, like I said, this was 2012 when I did mine, but it was only a month. I mean, it's quite an intensive month. I would say it could have been better to be spaced out a bit more. It is quite full on, but it was only a month. But it was every day.
And
it was a lot.
Okay. So it was more like a intensive month.
Yeah. But this was another thing because I didn't get to do anything. I had visited Poland before I did the CELTA, and I was hoping to do the CELTA and maybe see a little bit more. But I was actually quite glad that because I had the job offer before I finished the CELTA. Obviously, it was on the provision that I passed, but I did already have this job offer before I moved. But I was kind of glad about that because during that month I didn't get the chance to do anything other than study. So I didn't get a chance to see it really, to experience Poland. So yeah, it was the right decision at the time.
Nice. I mean, at the end, you stayed because they offered you a job, but 7 years, it's a lot of time in a country.
It is a long time. I mean, being honest, for me, my personal feeling, it was too long. Do you know, I mean, Poland is a very nice country, but I realized quite early on that it wasn't the place that I wanted to live for many reasons.
Makes sense. I mean, it is curious, like the transition, no? Like your UK, Spain, Poland, and back to Spain, like they are very different countries. Like, what surprised you the most when you arrived to Poland? How was the cultural adjustment?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, the culture shock because I had lived in Spain before, so the culture shock from um, just living in Poland, yes, it was the biggest culture shock out of any of the countries that I've been to, put it that way. I don't know why now, I can't quite remember because I don't know. It's just very different, it's the people are quite different, generally it's it's uh it's different. I don't know how to say it. It felt different. Felt different. The appearance, the buildings even was different. So because of that, you feel different just looking around. The language, probably the language. I would say the language was probably the main issue.
Yeah. Makes sense. What about teaching? Like that's also suppose it's very different from one place to another. Like it's the methodology is very different, or like are there a lot of common because it's the same language that you're teaching?
To be honest, I know that now that I live in Spain, I don't actually teach in Spain. I teach online, and the majority of my students are Polish. Because I prefer working with Polish speakers actually. And I think this is simply because I know I lived there for so long and I worked with so many Polish speakers. I'm quite familiar with the mistakes that are common, going from Polish to English, the common mistakes, the common problems. So I think this is why I continued working. I don't only work with Polish speakers, but yes, the majority of my students at the moment are Polish.
I mean, you touched it a little bit. You are doing now fully online, no? So
Yes.
it's the moment where you launched Pink Flamingo English, the whole project
Yeah.
and on business at that moment of time when you left Poland, or
No, 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 because I had I had children in this in the meantime, so this had quite a big
okay,
impact on how my work, let's say. So yeah, how did it work? I'm just thinking back the sequence of events. I've been teaching online for no, I've been running my own business. I've been teaching online for a long time, but I've been running my own business for about 4 years. And I've actually just recently changed the direction of my online business, focusing on my experience. This is maybe changing. It's going ahead a bit of what we were before, but I've started a community, like an online learning community for mothers. So this is based on my experience, personal experience and my teaching experience. So I've kind of put it together. So this is what the Pink Flamingo English is now. It's like an online learning community for international mothers that live in the UK. So basically it's the situation that I'm in, but in Spain, because I'm in that
reversed.
situation. So this is
I
what
see.
that business side is now. I changed it based on my personal experiences and professional.
Very interesting. Did you become a mother in Poland or in Spain?
Both. I have
So
experience in both. I've actually never had children in my own country. um,
how
but yeah,
was it actually? Like it must be I don't know. You add an extra level of stress on top of like becoming mother. That it's big enough
yeah.
of a thing.
Yeah, it's difficult, very difficult. Maybe the second or third time, or after several children, it probably gets easier. But I think the first time, if you do this abroad, it's difficult. There's a lot of challenges involved. Personal challenges. There's a lot of language issues. Yeah, and this is exactly why I changed my business to what I did because I have quite a lot of experience in it in terms of language as well. I know the language struggles that are involved in that, personal as well.
How was moving to a new country also with the children? Because that's another transition with a kid. It's always not easy, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah. It's it's difficult. It's difficult, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I don't have anything else to compare it to because it was sort of normal for me, let's say, because I don't have any other experience. But yeah, it's definitely not easy. Yes, there are challenges. There are challenges. Obviously, as well, when we moved to Spain, it was because I said it was 5 years. It was right, like not in the middle. It was just before COVID. So this was quite a challenging time in general to move to another country,
Yeah,
regardless of personal situations. This was quite hard.
I see. And the move to Spain was due to like being enough time in the cold of Poland, or it was like a chosen
Yeah.
decision, or there was anything else?
Yeah, I mean, it was due to just family reasons. There were different family reasons and work opportunities and that type of thing. It was not so much planned. It wasn't one of those things that was like a long-term plan. It kind of just happened. That being said, because I had lived in Spain when I was younger, it's something that, I wanted to do. It was a welcome change, let's say.
Can I ask where are you in Spain? Being
Yeah.
from
Um,
Barcelona, it's a curiosity question.
No, at the moment we're in the south. So actually though, when we first moved, we were in the north, not in the north, slightly north of Madrid, but now we're in the south. So near Malaga, I would say. So the opposite end.
And how is life in Spain with a family? I suppose it's a different experience than the one that you had
It
when you were
is, yeah.
younger.
Oh yes.
Do you like it?
Yeah. I think from the family perspective, I think Spain is a really nice country to raise children in general. It's a nice country for a lot of different reasons. There's not just one reason here. It's a nice place to live anyway, regardless of your situation. But I think especially when you've got children, it's a nice way. When I compare it to my own childhood, for example, it was quite different. The things that children are able to do here, the weather obviously has a lot to do with it, and the location as well. Of course, it depends where in Spain. But we're by the sea, so it's a nice life. It's a nice place to raise children.
Lovely.
It's also very family
Right, I would say.
orientated. Sorry.
Yeah. No, no, absolutely. I mean, makes sense. I mean, if you are looking for this kind of family life, it's
Yeah.
important to have this kind of environments. That's for sure.
Hmm.
And I would say we jump to the fast reply segment. Like I ask always the same 12 questions to everyone. In this case, I give it up to you. Like if you want to talk about Poland or Spain, so whatever you prefer. But let's focus in one of them. With what are you up to?
Probably. I mean, I don't mind. It might be easier to keep it to Spain because it's more recent, perhaps. Maybe because I
Yeah,
might not
yeah, yeah.
remember the answers if it was for Poland, perhaps.
Perfect. Then let's do Spain.
Hmm.
The first one that I have, it's cultural adjustment, the thing
Right.
that took you a while to adapt to.
Okay, let me think. Sorry, I don't know whether I have to answer these quickly. I know I need to think about them. I think going back again to the family focus, I think there are maybe some differences with schools culturally, or maybe behaviors, I would say. I don't know. Maybe I would think about that. I mean, generally, culturally, there's the Spanish culture is very different, but in a positive way. So there's not really it's an adjustment, but you don't notice it, if you enjoy doing it. It's not when it's not a negative adjustment. I would say maybe that there's maybe some differences with schooling that take a bit of getting used to.
Second one that I have, it's social life. How do you meet friends in Spain? Do you
Yeah, I
connect
mean,
with people?
Spain is a very, very social country, so there's always many possibilities. This again is another positive change, I would say, comparing to in England. I know the weather has a lot to do with it, of course. When the weather's warmer, you can be outside more, but it's not only because of the weather. I think socializing it's just part of Spanish life. And again, going back to the family issue, when you've got children, it's very possible to socialize with children, and I think this is something positive about Spain. You can go out in the summer 12, 1 o'clock, and the children are out still playing in a bar, and in England, there's no way you would take your child out to a bar at 12 o'clock at night, regardless of the season. Probably there'd be safety issues as well as many other issues, but this is a positive about the social side of Spain.
Makes a lot of sense. Third one that I have, it's language.
Right.
Are you learning Spanish? Do you speak Spanish? Any learning tips?
My Spanish is definitely not as good as it should be. I know that. It needs improvement. That being said, I don't expect people to speak English. I live in Spain. I have to communicate in Spanish, but it needs work, let's say. At the moment, I do struggle to find time to study. In terms of speaking, of course, I can practice speaking, but probably, as I'm a teacher, I know what sort of things I need to do to learn a language, and I think I need to put a bit more time into the academic aspect.
Nice. Fourth one that I have, it's cost of living.
Right.
How is it in the south of Spain? Because I know that changes a lot depending on where you are, but what is surprisingly cheap, what is surprisingly expensive, how much costs living in there?
Yeah, I mean, it depends what you're comparing it to, I guess. And I can't remember really cost of living in UK to compare it. Maybe it's not so much cost of living, but what I would say is the property prices are quite high. This is something, maybe they are higher in comparison to everything else. Generally the cost of living is okay. You can get things for a reasonable price, but property prices, especially where we are very, very high in relation to other things.
I see. Related to that, actually, the fifth one is finding a home or finding an apartment. How do you find apartments? How do you search? What is the hardest part of the process of getting a property in Spain?
Yeah. This I think probably varies quite a lot depending on where you are in Spain. But if you are in a holiday region, where there's popular with tourists, the main thing, if you don't, well, there's obviously different issues with renting and buying. But for example, if you're renting, it's very hard to find a long-term rental because a lot of property owners, they'll rent from usually September till June, and then who knows what you're expected to do in the summer. But it's very hard to get it all year round, a rental. So this is an issue with renting. I believe that there's a lot of suggested changes to try and improve this situation, but it is very challenging for people that live somewhere long term.
I see. Sixth one I have, it's living like a local. What's the thing that you kind of like now do to try to blend in with
Hmm.
your life, or the mistakes to avoid to not be a spot in the middle of Spanish people?
I don't know about that, the things that we don't do. But again, like living, like I said about the social aspect, in the summer especially, this is how you do automatically adapt to this. I find often when people visit me, they'll want to go out. It's normal for them to want to leave, to go out early, like 8 o'clock. But generally locals in the summer, they don't go out till about at least 10 o'clock. They'll go out at 10 o'clock at night. At the weekends, obviously, they stay longer, and it's normal, 12, 1, 2 to still be out. And it's normal for us as well. When you live somewhere all year, you kind of adapt to this lifestyle of going out very late in the summer. But yeah, often if people come to visit me, I notice that they struggle a bit with this, because they're used to their timetable, their normal hours, and it's hard to adapt. But yeah.
You end adapting to your timeline or time schedule to whatever you live. That's kind of normal. I think. Yeah,
Yeah, you
makes
have to.
sense. Seventh one that I have, maybe not from your own exact experience, but from friends and people that you have around. How is the work life or the work culture in
Yeah,
the south of Spain right now?
that is hard for me to answer. I I don't know. I guess it obviously varies. But in what way? What do you mean?
In regards of timing schedules, like it's more laid out, it's more relaxed, it's more an environment where people
Hmm.
it's more like
Right,
stressed
okay.
and
Yeah. So it's more relaxed. Generally in Spain, it's quite relaxed. It's quite okay to take a long time to get back to people. That's one of the main things. You don't always get a response to things, even at work if it's something important. Obviously, if it's really important, I guess that you do get a reply, but you can expect to wait a while, and it's quite normal. Timing, I mean, of course, when you've got to be at work at a certain time, you have to be there, but a few minutes here and there, it's not such a problem. I mean, there are times where I've been to a shop that's supposed to open at 5:30, after the siesta, and it's not. People are standing outside. It's like 5:45. Maybe they'll open then, maybe they won't.
I see. Sounds familiar. The next one, it's getting around. How do you move around the city? It's public transport good? You need a car? Is there any system
Yeah,
that?
again, it depends quite a lot on the city. I mean, where we live, there is public transport, but it's probably not as good as what it is in cities because we don't live in a city. This, yeah, it depends. It depends a lot. I actually have a bike, which I find okay. I only recently got this bike, but I quite enjoy this because it's a small town. And there's also, I think it's quite common in a lot of the coastal areas. There's a lot of cycle paths and they're always next to the sea. So this is quite a nice way to travel around, if you're only traveling within your town, I think a bike is a good idea, because you're quite mobile and the weather as well allows it. Obviously, in the winter, it's a bit unpredictable, but taking the whole year into account, it's quite a good place to travel by bike, I think.
Next one, I mean, you touched it from giving birth for sure. So the healthcare, how does the system work? Is it good? It's easy to access the quality.
Yeah, I mean, overall, Spanish healthcare, public healthcare is good. I couldn't say that it's bad. I don't think there's any issues, any different issues to what other countries have. Obviously, there are much worse countries, but I mean the ones that are on a similar sort of level. Yes, there's a delay sometimes. You have to wait if you want some sort of specialist, but overall the care is very good. Private as well it's okay. You can get more or less everything you want if you have private insurance. This is another possibility, but overall it is good. The public care is good in Spain.
I have three more. The next one, it's
Okay.
something that everyone blames and normally doesn't like it that much, but the bureaucracy, how is dealing with paperwork, visas, permits, and so on.
Yeah, I mean, Spanish Spanish bureaucracy is quite well known, I think, to not be very straightforward. It's difficult. I suppose every country has their systems. A lot of stuff now is increasingly online or digital. This does make it a lot easier when you can set everything up. Yes, there are some things that are really easy to do, but when the things that you can't do, like this online, you have to go into any sort of office, depending on what it's for. It can then become a bit complicated because there's not a very unified opinion in a lot of the offices in
Mhm.
Spain. So one will tell you one thing, then one will tell you something else, and this is a little bit complicated for everybody, not only foreign people. Yeah. So it's difficult. Sometimes it can be very difficult.
And it is, yes, in a lot of countries.
Yes,
Every country
exactly.
has its own downsides on bureaucracy. That's all.
Yeah, of course.
Next one is the best and worst. Like, what is the best thing about living in Spain, and what is the worst thing about living in Spain?
Do really for this, you could probably put the same thing. The weather, I think, could possibly go for both sides because you have a lot of sun, a lot of sunny days, a lot of time outside. But in the summer, this heat is quite difficult. So yes, okay, you do have warm, hot summers, but there's a long period of very high temperatures, and this is quite difficult. So it's quite interesting that I think you could put that for both good and bad, like the best and the worst.
I think you're the first guest who combined both of them, so I like that. Nice. And the last one that I have for this section is the top tip. If anyone is moving to south of Spain right now, what would be your
Mm.
one line of advice to give them?
Yeah. My initial thought was, just do it. But maybe that's not the type of advice that you need. That was more like motivation, reason, encouraging people to move. I mean, I think it probably isn't specific to Spain, but it applies to wherever you go. You do need to do some research, research the sort of official procedures that you need to go through so that you're doing everything legally. Um and learn the language. I think this goes for
Okay,
every country.
so yeah, that's cool. So with that, thanks a lot for your responses and your experience on Spain. I will jump back quickly to the mini game that I prepared. I call it True or False Learning English Edition. Wanted to focus a little bit in there. It's basically a very easy true or false, and if you have any explanation on why this is true or why it's false from your experience, just put it in. If not, we leave it just as a true or false, and that's it. The first statement that I have is you need to live in an English speaking country to become fluent in English.
No, okay, generally this is false. This is always false. You don't have to. That being said, it absolutely helps, when you're learning a language that you live in the country that you're learning. Of course, you might progress more, maybe faster. But in terms of fluency, no, especially not with online now. You can have contact with anybody, with anything. So false.
Makes sense. Next one, having a strong accent means that your English is bad.
No, this is false. Having an accent shows that you speak another language. This is something that you should be proud of. You should celebrate. I forgot the wording that you used, but it's definitely not negative.
Kids learn languages faster than adults, always.
Well, okay, I don't know the statistics behind this, but I would be inclined to say true. Um, they learn. It depends on the age of them, of course. I think the younger you are, the faster you learn a language because you learn in a different way. I don't know the science behind this, but I think true. I think as well they can learn in a different way. They speak the language differently because they can pick up the sounds and they might sound more native. Let's say. I'm not saying that's better or worse, but that tends to happen more with children.
Next one that I have is grammar. It's the most important part of learning English.
No, it's not the most important. So this is false. It's important. You can't say that it's not important. Depends a lot on the level as well. I think when you're a lower level, then yes, there's more importance on grammar. And when you get higher, then vocabulary might take over slightly. It's difficult to say. I can't say that it's not important because it is. You do need grammar to communicate effectively. But it's a lot of people do focus only on grammar, and I think the focus should be communication, not on grammar. And you can sometimes communicate without the correct grammar.
Makes sense. Watching Netflix in English actually helps you improve.
Yeah. Yes, and it helps you more if you've got subtitles in English as well, because then you can hear and see what they're saying. Because sometimes people don't understand fast conversation, which is normal. So when you've got the subtitles in English, this is an even better way to help.
Makes sense. Thinking in your native language and translating is a bad habit. You should not do it.
I mean, it's one of those. Some people might say yes, it's a bad habit, but I think again it depends on the level. I think as you become a higher level, this stops automatically. It's not something that you can control. I think if you need to do it, I mean, what's the point in saying that you can't do it because then you won't speak at all? You think, well, I'm not speaking in English. I'm not thinking in English. I can't say anything. I mean, I think it's inevitable at lower levels that you will do this. But it's better if you can get out of this habit, which I think happens naturally anyway, because it might help you. It might help you be more, I don't know, be able to think more in English if you try to train your mind in that way.
Be more natural at the end, yeah, of course. The last one that I have is you should avoid speaking English until you can speak it correctly.
No, this obviously this is false. This is false. I think nobody would make any progress if this was the case. That being said, it's the thing that holds most people back. It's a very common fear. It's normal. I mean, I have the same. I don't want to speak if it's not correct, or I'm worried it's not correct, or it's not perfect. It is very common, but the reality is you need to get through this. You have to try and get through this. There's different ways to do it, though. I mean, I'm not saying you have to go out and give a presentation in English, but even if you speak on your own, this is quite helpful. You might feel a bit stupid, but you have a conversation with yourself because, it helps you practice speaking in an environment where nobody's going to hear you. And it's a good way to build up confidence at the beginning. There's many different techniques you can try like that.
Perfect. Thanks a lot for the replies. There was like a little bit very specific, let's say, about learning English, but I think it makes sense knowing your background and what you're working on. So I would say before we close the episode, can you share what you're working on right now? If there is anything else than what you already explained going on in parallel, what it's your projects, where can people find you also? Of course, the links will be in the description, but where can the audience contact you also if they are interested?
Yeah, okay. So it's as I mentioned earlier, my main project at the moment is as it's on my Instagram, Pink Flamingo English Online. This is an online an online English learning community for mothers, international mothers that live in the so they've probably moved there for whatever reason, various reasons, and they need to learn English or improve English. So it's basically a space where the primary goal is to learn English. So there's like English lessons every week to teach the language. It's not normal. It's not like a normal course though, like where you've got a course book. They're English lessons focused on the language that you need to raise children. So, the language that you need to talk to other parents at parties, to talk to the doctor, to talk to teachers. This is completely different language to what you get in a course book. And this is why I did it, because it's something that I need. It's based on my own experience of what I'm lacking in Spain. Like WhatsApp groups, for example. It's a nightmare, when there's so many messages. So it's focusing on this type of thing, but in English, because that's based on my professional experience. So yeah, this is the main project. It's a community. They have lessons every week, speaking practice every week. What else? There's a live meeting with me every month for grammar and vocabulary. So it's quite short, this grammar and vocabulary focus, because it's not the main focus. It's connected to one of your previous questions. Communication is the focus here, to communicate and to feel confident and to just basically manage life in the UK with children, to be able to interact with parents, interact with teachers, and not be like standing at the side because you're scared to speak to people. And the main focus then here is the community. So there's a community of other mothers in the same situation. So you can also connect with other women, and talk. And you can do this through the weekly meetings and a chat group, which I'm also active in, sharing my experience, like personal and some tips about learning English. So yeah, this is my main project at the moment, and I have a website. There's more information on there as well.
Fantastic. Yeah. I mean, so mainly point of contact, Instagram, website.
Yeah, on my website, there's all of the contacts. Yeah, all the social media. There's an email address. There's a contact form. All through Instagram as well is fine. On Instagram as well, I share just tips, vocabulary tips for mothers, or just general tips for learning English, and, relatable situations with children. So even following that, if this sort of fits you, if you think, oh, that sounds like me, then that might be quite helpful as well.
For the audience, as always, like if you don't find it easily, you will have the links of the website plus the Instagram and every channel on the description of the episode, so that don't worry, go there and you will find it. Thank you so much for joining the show and being able to share your experience, but also a little bit about your project. Yeah, thanks for joining. It was very interesting.
Yes. Yeah, it was nice. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. And again, for the audience, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and give some love to both the project of Amy and the show. Until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and see you in the next episode.